Mhm. But nobody's here. Did I click on the what? Mm-mm. I have this over here. You see, I put a sticky thing for to block me.
Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. Those of you who are both here and virtually, we're going to take just a couple of other minutes. We have a couple folks in.
On the camera. On the camera. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I can't hear anything. I don't know if anybody can hear me.
Our campus and to really look at these materials from the lens of what material best meets our need as it relates to our programming. For example, we have our balanced literacy program, our dual language program, the desire that we have for our students to engage in higher order thinking, the need that we have for our teachers to have materials that are user friendly and adaptable to the instruction that they're providing in the classroom. And so from that conversation, there was some how each of them could meet our needs, and but our district instruction being provided in literacy, Houghton Mifflin Harcourt is the best fit across the board. That was the greater resounding voice. We did also have dialogue about ways that we could regarding our bilingual department and ensuring that the students in the dual language program would have and so we did talk about the potential to supplement and make sure that the bridge that we need to move forward and that we can utilize additional. And we want to be very transparent about that because we want to be sure that the materials that they need without overly taxing our teachers and them having to personally go out and find those materials while the district will be putting forth an effort to make sure these materials are provided and that student needs are met. And so along with that dialogue, we had conversation about handwriting. This adoption did call for materials from K to 5, and our publishers, for example, in this case, Houghton Mifflin, does provide handwriting support and implementation of instruction resources. Our staff, our committee felt that and recommends that have an outside resource of Zaner Bloser for K to 2, our students at their early childhood levels and going into their developmental grades, the opportunity to practice the print of handwriting and then be able to transition in 3rd grade into cursive, utilizing the resources that are in our overall adoption of the Houghton Mifflin Harcourt. So it was a real win-win, some great dialogue that took place to come to a consensus and a decision that we could bring before you. So we're happy to share that. So that leads us then to our budgeting for the adoption and purchase of materials. Our current balance in the instructional materials allotment is approximately $2.3 million. And focus is that the base of the adoption will be used purchased using our funds from the instructional materials allotment. So that puts us in a position where we'll be able to select materials for our students that we can budget from our IMA fund. If there are any additional needs, then those would be requested through a special budget request. For example, what I just mentioned about the bilingual piece, if we need to do some things to supplement. If we determine that fund could handle the basic and we want to ensure we provide hand, that may be, that consideration is open and available. But at this time, we want to be clear that the base of the adoption will be purchased using our IMA funds. So we're still collecting proposals and putting together our dollars and cents based on the conversations that were held recently, and the publishers throughout this entire process have been really wonderful and supportive and ensured we have everything that we need as we go through making decisions. Any thoughts or questions before I leave that piece, whether here in our room or virtually? Okay, so in the upcoming months, our next steps are that in April, we'll be finalizing we will have the proposals finalized by April. We intend to finalize our proposals as we go now so that in April we're ordering materials. So keep in mind that these materials will be ordered via EMAT, and what happens with the EMAT system, that's our TEA web interface, that system will go down completely early April. Then it'll be down for about 3 weeks, and that's when TEA is actually going to be uploading all of these potential purchases and materials. And then when it opens up back in April, we have the ability to submit our order. So we intend to be ready to go so that the minute it opens up, we can get our order in as quickly as possible. We intend to receive our materials probably closer to June, start preparing those for distribution. We've been in conversation with Ms. Corson in our purchasing department, along with the warehouse, on detailing out the plans. And then coming back in August, prior to maybe even throughout the summer, having professional development, getting those materials delivered to the campus. Okay. So any questions or comments? We truly appreciate your support. All right, I'm going to go back to our agenda, and I'm going to actually do a couple of housekeeping pieces. I think I was so excited to update everyone on Proclamation 2019. I just zoomed on in. So virtually, I know it when Miss Anise, I believe it is, Dr. Fanta Friday, and then Miss Tavia Johnson. Is there anyone who else has joined us? It looks like Christy Corson has joined us.
Kim.
Someone else, maybe?
Kim.
Oh, Kim Edmondson. Okay.
And Miss Rich.
Oh, Mr. Rich. Okay, awesome. Thank you. So I've added that here to our agenda that they're with us virtually as well. So thank you for being with us. And then our allotment report, if we click there, I did reference it during our presentation, but you'll see that our remaining allotment is $2,164,652.22. Okay. So old business, last time we met together, I did mention our campus instructional material coordinators, and I'm really excited and looking forward to meeting with them soon. I actually did confirm with our principals who those assigned administrators are. We're still ironing through some details, but we've made great progress just as far as me being new to this role in the district and making sure that we connect. I know that business has been happening at the campuses. Our instructional materials coordinators are very dedicated. There are assistant principals, and those responsibilities are embedded in the assistant principal role, and we appreciate everything that they do to make that work successful at the campus level. So we want you to know as those who are campus instructional materials coordinators that we are here to support you and to provide and meet your needs. We will begin to meet after our standing monthly assistant principal meetings, being as our assistant principals are our our campus instructional materials coordinators, and that overlaps. Then we're just going to ask those CIMCs to just hang back after the meeting, probably for about 30 minutes to an hour. We'll cover different expectations and routine activities that are part of the role, and also make sure that our CIMCs have the training and support needed. For example, learning list is something that assistant principals now have access to and can be useful when it comes to instructional material, more from knowing which materials to select or getting to know materials better to know how to integrate those on an instructional level. So that's something we want to be sure our teams know how to do. And then also tip web. I know many of our administrators are familiar with that, and that's what's used in order to inventory and make requests. So just really solidifying our systems, getting on the same page, reviewing our instructional materials handbook, things of that nature, and continuing to build capacity. So we're very excited to have that opportunity. I'm interfacing with Mr. Copeland, our Assistant Superintendent of Campus Support. He's going to be facilitating those assistant principal meetings and then giving me the opportunity to tag along with this meeting after those. Okay. Any thoughts or questions on that item? Okay. New business, campus updates requests. This is more of a district level, I'll say. So I think what I'll do is I'll create that option for district updates and requests. And then some things come generated through this office, CNI. So 3 things that I'll mention. One, there has been a little bit of dialogue as it relates to Braille materials. We have our VI folks out at the campuses who do a really good job making sure our teams have what they need, but I definitely want to mention it so that everyone who's a part of this work knows that that does flow through this department. Also, as it relates to, I know it's been a little while, but a couple folks came to me, especially as we were working on the adoption, one being our Springboard College Board connection. It's already in the district, and that was piloted, and there's been conversation about extending that pilot. So I don't know what direction that will go from a financial standpoint. I don't believe it was the IMA that funded that previously, but I want it just to be known and addressed that that's out there as a consideration and a need. And that's going to be our standard, whether it's something that's ultimately paid for through the IMA funds or not. Our true focus and role is instructional materials and making sure those needs are met. So we kind of serve as the umbrella, and then where we are able to support with the funds, we do that, but then we also support whoever that individual is needing that need met, whether it's through our funding or some other source. At least that's what we try to do. Okay? That'll be our goal, because we know our student needs must be met. Okay, the other one is dual credit books. Very similar request in that, and more of a question, just where's the funding going to come from? I believe there's been some changes in funding. So for example, there used to be funds that came, the college, whoever we were partnering with, in that MOU, so funds through the agreements that were made in the MOU is what covered that. But now we're under a different model with the, I believe it's called Dallas Promise. And so funding's a little bit different. So it brings the question then, Now, where will the funds come from for dual credit? So just want to add that to our considerations as new business for something that we'll be discussing. Any thoughts or questions on either of those? Lori, I know you're there and I know dual credit applies to you. So if there's anything you want to chime in on.
Not right now.
Okay. Did what I say, was that pretty accurate?
Yes. The
Okay.
Dallas County Promise has definitely changed the way we're going to be able to fund things.
Mm-hmm. And that's the beauty of having this group and this committee, is that, again, regardless of where the funds ultimately come from, if they come from IMA and we're able to do it, that's great. But having a streamlined process and a system in place for making the request and then following through.
One thing I was kind of curious about
Mm-hmm.
is during the CTE book adoption. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you. Mm-hmm.
During that adoption, there was teacher edition textbooks ordered, but the student textbooks were never ordered. And I'm running across some of those kind of issues. Of course, I'll put a list together and bring it all at once, but just kind of put that in the back of your mind that that's something we'll need to address.
Okay, excellent. I appreciate you bringing that forward. And so my question would be, Lori, and I think if the teacher books were ordered, I would think it happened that, do you recall, did that, the way, for example, that we're going to the board in March with the ELAR and SLAR and handwriting, did the CTE go to before the board that you recall?
I wasn't involved in that portion of it. I was involved in collecting the data about the books that the teacher suggested and that kind of thing. And then I turned it over to the person that was handling books at the time.
Okay, so I'll use this kind of as an example in a teachable moment,
Awesome.
because this is a good example of what could happen, even currently with the adoption that we have right now. So what happens sometimes is that the books are put out there for adoption, but then they aren't ever taken to the board because there's not a need at that time. And so that's what I want you to be aware of, just to know that at some point that needs to be addressed if it hasn't been, and then that could cause a little bit of a lag or delay in time if we've got to take those back before the board. So I'll give you an example, like right now, personal financial literacy, that's part of the current adoption. We didn't do any review, we didn't do any selection because we're not currently offering that course. That could change year after next. If that changes, then we still go back to the publishers that are available, the materials that are available. We go through the entire process and then take it before the board. So just let's be cognizant of that. And definitely, Lori, I'll make that note here. I've put adoption teacher books ordered, but student books lacking. So a potential need there.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Mm-hmm. Any other campus updates or request an entry, intermediate, middle, high? And in the future, also when I'm meeting with the CIMCs, this will be another opportunity for them to give me feedback. Right now, they put needs in Eduphoria. That's what happens. A ticket is created. I haven't seen very much this year. We have seen a little bit, but we also, that might have been a more experienced CIMC who knew what to do. So I really hope we don't have folks out there with, student needs that haven't been met. But I can definitely put some feelers out with our teacher specialists and with our CIMCs to know that our campus voice is getting back to us here at the district level if there are some needs. But of those of you who are on the committee, are you aware of any instructional material needs that you'd like to share and update or request? Yes, Christy?
It was brought to my attention after our meeting on Tuesday. A couple teachers reached out and just said, we didn't make any mention at all of a separate spelling adoption, like that we were going to purchase a spelling curriculum. And I think when we originally talked about it, we said, in a perfect world, that would be a lovely thought, but realistically, if we're going to probably have to choose, are we going to do handwriting or are we going to do spelling? So what I shared with them, and I don't know how we had to talk about this as in depth, but that all of the current adoption publishers have spelling integrated into the core adoption, so that we were kind of going to use what the publisher offered as far as spelling was concerned, so that if people get that question, that's
Right.
kind of the route that we decided to go for the elementary levels.
Okay, okay, excellent. Thank you. I appreciate that feedback. Any other updates or requests from the campus level?
Oh, sorry.
Oh, Ms. Carr's joined us. Hello, Ms. Carr. And also in the room, Ms. Mari Zamora has joined us as well.
She needs to unmute her mic.
Okay.
Ms.
And
Carr.
Ms. Carr, if you'd like to join us, just unmute your mic so we can hear you.
All right, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Cool beans. So at the high school, we're looking at adding 2 courses to Edgenuity, AQR, and then a SAT prep or TSI prep course for reading.
Okay.
So those are the only
Will
2
you have
instructional
materials?
pieces.
Will there be any instructional materials that are needed to accompany that?
Everything should be online, to my knowledge.
Okay. Okay, great. Okay, if we don't have any additional updates or requests, are there any questions overall from our meeting today? Okay, I'm going to just recap who we have with us, both in the room and virtually. So we have Ms. Christy Mullins, Ashley Logan, Mari Zamora, and then Claudio Zavala and Manny Rodriguez, along with yours truly. And then virtually we have, I believe it's Ms. Anise, and then Dr. Friday, Ms. Johnson, Christy Corson, Kim Edmondson, Lori Rich, and Beverly Carr, who are joining us virtually. One final update as we do move forward to next meetings and next steps. We talked about starting in the beginning with our bi-weekly meetings to really get the work of our adoption complete, get our IMOC underway. And so as we're leaning deeper into the spring, I believe we're in a really good spot where we can move to a monthly meeting. So our next 3 meetings have been set on the calendar. They're all pretty much the first week of the month on a Thursday. So March 7th, April 4th, and May 2nd are our remaining meetings for this school year. We won't meet the months of June and July, and then we'll pick up again in August. Unless there's a need along the way, that's where we'll definitely schedule, as especially us being in an adoption, there could be a need for that. But otherwise, just feel free to continue to communicate within the folks that you have designated at your campus, and we appreciate everyone who's a part of this team. Okay. All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful evening. Bye-bye.